Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is, of course, you know who, We-On-Loc Nation. I told you I was going to come back now, didn't I? This time, we're in some shit. We are definitely in some stuff. That is, if your boy Donald J. Trump doesn't keep his mouth freaking shut. But before we get into that, this is a little pre teaser. This is a little appetizer for you. How much shit Donald Trump is in right now.
Belonging to Donald Trump and his family, all under the Trump Revocable Trust because of money laundering fears after their compliance department and anti-money laundering department did an intensive investigation and determined that there was risk related to money laundering and Donald Trump. And that's the reason they closed the accounts in 2023. How do I know that? Because Capital One just filed that statement, that declaration, that argument in several pages of a new filing in federal court in the Southern District of Florida in Miami before Judge Altman as they try, and I think they'll be successful, to get Donald Trump's third attempt at stating a cause of action against Capital One for debanking the Trump Organization as they try hard to get yet another complaint dismissed. So finally, after Donald Trump has had 3 opportunities to draft a proper complaint, Capital One has had it, and they have told the federal judge, Judge Altman, the real reason they got rid of Donald Trump and his family as bank customers. See, Trump, if you keep pushing the bank and hitting them with a stick and poking the bear, you may not like the response or the headline. Trump and Trump family debanked because of fears of money laundering. I'm Michael Popak. Let's get to the new filing and who the
Some of y'all can act foolish if you want to. I'm just, because I know this is a white world, I'm just amazed at how Trump has lived this long financially. I'm surprised he's not in jail for money fraud. I am shocked. I am amazed, but he keep poking at the bear. Oh, I hope November he's impeached.
Players are here on Legal AF. As people know, I am traveling. However, this is important, and I wanted to bring it to you. Take a minute and show that you think what we do is important by hitting the free subscribe. Capital One. That was their primary bank. I mean, now Trump puts all of his money with Charles Schwab, but at the time it was Capital One. Capital One got rid of them in and around the 2023 closing and giving them 3 months notice that they were closing all 300 bank accounts. Now, Trump didn't like it. And so when he got back into power a couple of years later, first he filed this lawsuit in March of last year. And then he issued an executive order about not allowing banks to debank people because of woke diversity, equity, and inclusion reasons.
Hey, Bob,
and their fundamental claim
I'd rather have somebody with some common sense.
Was Capital One got rid of Donald Trump and wouldn't touch the family with a 10-foot pole when it came to banking, not because of money laundering, not because of violations of the Patriot Act or other things that give the know your customer requirement of the bank, make it very difficult for the bank to know their customer when they can't understand the transactions in those bank accounts after diligent research. Now, I know this from my own past, where I was the global head of litigation for a financial services firm, a Wall Street firm, and it was very involved with the compliance department, the anti-money laundering department, and how that process works. Onboarding of customers and clients and accounts, the Patriot Act, the statutes that you have to follow to know your customer, or you can lose your banking license. So banks and financial services companies take it very, very seriously and have professionals, and they spend tens of millions of dollars between human beings and AI and compliance software to make sure these things don't happen. And when something is flagged, it kind of escalates up the chain to the top of compliance, maybe the head of the bank, and then decisions are made. And that's what happened here. What they claimed, the Donald J. Trump family and all the Trumpers claimed, oh no, they didn't like the fact that Donald Trump participated in the Jan 6th insurrection and led an insurrection. And so they wanted to curry favor with the woke left wing. So they wanted to debank Donald Trump. Ridiculous. And finally, after Donald Trump had his first first two complaints dismissed by Judge Altman, he had one more shot. This is now the motion to dismiss the second amended complaint. So there's a complaint, a first amended complaint, a second amended complaint. This is the third time Trump's has tried to do it. And Capital One, obviously represented by its lawyers at Debevoise in New York, have had enough. They're like, okay, you were a money launderer, or at least we suspected you were. That's why. Now, fundamentally, a bank under most account
It's like you trying to bargain with the landlord of the apartments. Oh my goodness. Eventually the landlord is going to call the police. Landlord is going to call the police and kick your ass out. Like, we suspected foul play. We suspected there was too much noise. There was too much going on, and it stunk. So this isn't right. I'm going to file a complaint. File it. After the first one got dropped, you had the nerve to come up with a second one. Fine. That one got dismissed. Come up with a third. And it's like, all right, you go. Your services are no longer needed. Filed for bankruptcy 6 times in a row. I mean, think about it. This at least I would give more credit to Fred Trump. At least I'll give a little bit of credit to Fred Trump. At least he got it right when he first came to America. When Donald J. Trump was born, and Fred gave this fool $1 million, what's the first thing he does? Waste it. He knows nothing about money. He knows how to spend it. Everybody knows how to spend it. Give me $1 million. I know how to spend it. Any fool with a 100-mile radius knows how to spend money. But do they know how to invest properly? Absolutely not. The Taj Mahal, gone. Trump Towers, gone. What happened with The Apprentice? Oh, that was a TV show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this dude is going to put us in a headlock. And the person who is doing the choking will be Israel if we are not careful. Excuse me, if y'all are not careful, because thanks to y'all who put us in this position in the first place, thanks to y'all who voted for a guy like this who is clearly unstable, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for putting us in the wrong position. Oh, thank you. What am I talking about? I'll show you. Listen closely.
If that's the definition he wants, so be it. But understand, Zelensky, what you're doing is opening yourself up, because therefore every nation that provides you with military support is an active participant in the conflict, and therefore Russia has every right to be watching, to be aware, and to strike if needed. So Zelensky just made the case, and I think Europe should maybe call him up and say, what are you saying there, pal? What exactly are you trying to say? Because if you're saying that you have a right to strike an Iranian ship in the Caspian Sea because of some military-to-military activity between Russia and Iran, you've put us all at risk. You put every single one of it at risk. All the German factories that are producing drones that we give to you are now viable targets, according to Zelensky's definition. Hell, all of America is a viable target right now. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, the plant in Scranton, the plants in Huntsville, the plants across the country now are legitimate targets, according to Zelensky. So
now according to what's happening, and it's a lot going on. There's a lot going on between Spain and everything is tied to Italy or tied to Israel. The thing that's going on with Spain and Israel, a little disagreement, has nothing to do with the war. It's a little bit of disagreement, but then again, Israel's coming off as a bit of a dictator, just like Trump is. But Trump is also involved in some shit that can possibly cripples us if one more thing goes off. But it really is not going to matter much. It's really not going to matter much because Iran, they're at war. I don't know how else to put it. They are at war. Once you hit them, you took away their general. That's it. Ain't no negotiation going on. That's why I was like, what ceasefire? I had to think, first and foremost, Iran is a big ass country. They're not just going to back down just because you threw a couple of bombs there or threw a couple of rockets their way. I knew something was going on, and I knew something was going to happen once he took. Well, I didn't know once the contract was torn that thanks to Obama, we could have been in a more quieter position, but not so much right now. All because of this idiot, just an idiot.
So, this man just doesn't think. He's a man who literally doesn't think, but this is an act of desperation. You see, he's trying to create the perception of a global war, and to expand this to global proportions and tell the United States we have the same enemies. North Korea, Iran are our joint enemies. You have to support me more, without understanding that the mere fact that the United States would provide the support that Zelensky's asking would, in accordance with the definition put out by Zelensky himself, make the United States an active participant in the conflict, worthy of a legitimate military retaliation by Russia.
So you're saying that basically that Russia could use that same sentiment and apply that to the U.S. or any of the other NATO countries. You talked about a global war, and this has been my fear, Scott. The numbers are showing, obviously, that the majority of Americans are against the war in Iran. Great. The numbers show the majority of Americans are no longer supporting Israel. Great. However, where I get concerned is that the majority of Americans still do support Ukraine. And I wonder if this is going to be the next strategy, right? Like, in order to usher in support against the Iran war, which could develop into this global war that he's talking about here, they may try to use Ukraine as that beacon that is going to guide the sentiment for this war, and say, well, Iran is sending stuff to Russia, and therefore that's why we fired upon them.
I want to ask a question to the person that is riding my nuts real hard. Are you a military vet? If you're a military vet, then you would respect what is currently going on here. You have the war between Iran, Iraq, Israel, U.S., and quietly, as quiet as kept, Britain. There is no war in Spain because all they're doing is having a little bit of disagreement, but they're trying to kick anyone. Israel is trying to kick anyone out who disagrees with them. Socially, economically, politically. While your stupid ass is here commenting in the comment section that I somehow have a low IQ because you want to suck Donald Trump's dick so bad, I just want to know if you are relatively an Army vet. If you are not, please be quiet and let the guy who is talking right now with a little bit more experience than you or I have ever had in our lifetime, why don't you let him spit some facts, asshole? Now, if you are done,
and they're gonna, strike us at any moment, so we have to protect ourselves. And I'm afraid that is going to be the narrative, that if you support Ukraine, that you must indeed support the war against Iran, because now Iran is a threat to Ukraine.
I mean, Savvy, your logic is impeccable, and it's clearly you can make these inferences. There's a problem, though. How do you match rhetoric with reality? Because when you speak of a broader war, I'll just ask some fundamental questions. What weapon?
Oh, and the rest of you, hello, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And this is We-On-Loc Nation coming to you, and we got our mods in here, and anyone who is disrespectful in the comment section, oh, you know what it is. It's just chill them out for a little bit. But we just want to have a dialogue, a respectable conversation, not like this jerkwad right here where I had to chin check. So here's the deal. We're possibly maybe looking at a global war. And it doesn't have to be anybody else in this room. I blame Trump for this. Yes, I do. I do blame Trump for the simple fact I said it before and I'll say it again. He does not know how to keep his mouth shut. He does not know how to keep a cool head. That's why they booted him out of the war room. He wakes up every day. If someone says something bad, someone says something mean, or someone says something bad about him, he goes on a temper tantrum and says, go ahead and bomb him. It's like, wait, hold up. Even his advisors let him know, even his people had let him know, stand back, we'll handle it. No, he just wants to open his mouth to shit. And now what you were about to hear is, we're in some deep trouble.
Is the United States going to be using? Because the last time I checked, we stopped bombing Iran because we ran out of weapons.
See?
That's why we're not bombing Iran today. We don't have any more weapons. What weapons are we going to use to defend?
If you support Ukraine,
how do you match rhetoric with reality? Because when you speak of a broader war, I'll just ask some fundamental questions. What weapons is the United States going to be using? Because the last time I checked, we stopped bombing Iran because we ran out of weapons. That's why we're not bombing Iran today. We don't have any more weapons. What weapon? Because clearly you could.
We what? We what? We Jean-Paul. Who can walk? What about we? Do we speak French? Elebe poo. We ran out of rocket all. We ran out of equipment. And on a serious note, we lost lives. We've lost more lives than I can count on my hands. More lives because of this idiot. More lives. We could have been home, at least have a few boots on the ground, but no, we want to play Nintendo. We want to be those Nintendo pilots. A jet fighter has a limited amount of rockets, and a little bit amount of jet fuel. Excuse me, let me start over. A little bit amount of jet fuel, a little bit amount of gun, a little bit amount of bullets on the thing. It's not bullets, but you know what I'm talking about, and a little bit amount of rockets. You use all that, you're done. You're donezo. I wasn't in the Air Force. I wasn't in the Army. I wasn't in the Navy. I was in the Air Force. I was not a Marine. I wasn't even a a Navy SEAL. I wasn't a SEAL at all. I wasn't even a post. I would not allow myself to even entertain that. But my grandfather was, my great grandfather was, served in the U.S. military, both of them, for a certain amount of years. My grandfather caught it right in his neck, and he spoke a certain way. You know, he had spoke a certain way. My great grandfather, he just died of old age. He was very blessed, and my grandfather was very blessed. So we should go to our grandfathers, our great grandfathers, our fathers, our mothers, our great grandfathers, my great great grandmothers, and we should start asking them, how did you, if you were in the U.S. military, how did you cope with being in a war, if you were in war at all? We should be grateful. We should be grateful to have these people home. You know what I mean? Because now he's talking about the draft. They're talking about the draft, the so-called draft, and all this stuff, all this type of dumb shit. I mean, all because Donald Trump wants to be safe, and he wants a home, and he wants to play with his little horsey, and he wants his face on a $250 bill. Get him impeached.
Can make these inferences. There's a problem, though. How do you match rhetoric with reality? Because when you speak of a broader war, I'll just ask some fundamental questions. What weapons is the United States going to be using? Because the last time I checked, we stopped bombing Iran because we ran out of weapons. That's why we're not bombing Iran today. We don't have any more weapons. What weapons are we going to use to defend ourselves against not just the Iranian missiles that we can't defend ourselves against anymore because we don't have any more interceptors. We fired them all. But now you want to get Iran to hit Ukraine with missiles that Ukraine can't defend itself against? You want to invite North Korea into this conflict? They'll rain death and destruction down on South Korea and Japan, who can't defend themselves because there are no missile defense systems available. This is the problem. We're not dealing with reality here. See, all of the rhetoric that you're talking about right now is asking you to de-link yourself from reality, to stop critical thinking, and to buy into a narrative that feeds into an ongoing information operation. There's not going to be a global war, because there can't be a global war, because neither the United States, Europe, nor Ukraine has the capacity to wage a global war. But what's needed is to create the perception of this risk and to echo it back into Russia, reverse it, because now the question is, what is Putin doing? This is a global war. Shouldn't Putin be taking more action? I mean, it's brilliant what Ukraine just did. Think about what Zelensky just did. Iran provided weapons. We must now stand firm. Now, he's not going to do a damn thing because there's nothing he can do. But the message that he's sending is, I'm a strong leader. I'm talking about retaliation. What about you, Vlad? What are you doing? What are you doing when the German drones strike your cities? What are you doing when the American missiles strike your cities? What are you doing when France sends technology to help strike your cities? You're doing nothing, Vladimir. You're weak. You're weak, Vlad. And then that resonates back into Russia, and Russia start questioning the validity of their leadership. This is what's going on. It's called mental warfare. It's being waged actively against Russia. And the goal and objective is to get the Russian population to drop their support for Vladimir Putin on the eve of September 20th Duma elections. This is the same pattern that played out in 2011. when the United States was trying to cook the books on the Duma election in December 2011 to get United Russia to lose the election and therefore foil the effort to swap out Vladimir Putin, who was then the prime minister, with Medvedev, who was the president. That could only work if United Russia had control of the parliament and therefore could nominate the prime minister, which would be Medvedev. So the West actively worked. The Biden, the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton. You remember, she got called out by the Russians. Stop interfering with our domestic political affairs, for what she was saying about December. So this is the same game that's been playing over. There's nothing new here. Right now, the West is singularly focused on creating an attitude inside Russia that's negative to Vladimir Putin, negative to United Russia, a perception of weakness, of a man who's not doing enough, and to affect the September 20th elections. The problem is Putin's smarter than all these people. First of all, let's give you an example. There's a certain individual out there that likes to use the term Pyrrhic victory, because you can't deny that Russia's winning on the battlefield. There's no denying it. Everybody acknowledges it. But it's a Pyrrhic victory. The Pyrrhic victory, of course, comes from King Pyrrhus in...
You know what's interesting? I wonder why China's being so quiet. I wonder why China... I know why China's being quiet. Because in my opinion, they're getting ready. They're getting ready for whatever, whenever transpires. And if anything hits between them and Russia, they're prepared for war. So hopefully it doesn't turn out that way, because no one wants to get eliminated. Nobody wants to get eliminated. But right now, Iran they are irritated. They are irritated. I searched. Is the U.S. running out of missiles? Answers yes. Hit the like, people. Hit the like. DOD in the building. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe. Send me a little heart. Give me a little heart. And give me a little cash app on the side, because it was my birthday. Y'all missed my birthday. Y'all did it on purpose. But anyway, yeah, we ran out of missiles, all because Mr. Let's just call him Trump. Trump wants to be this erratic hero because he feels like he's doing something. He feels like he's doing something righteous for a change. And so it's just sitting his old 79 at the time, ass down, and just being a president. He has to be on True Social. He has to be on social media, period. He has to be that one that tells everybody to go straight to hell. Anybody who doesn't like him, he's been on this his revenge tour ever since the inauguration. And no one had the guts enough, other than Marjorie Taylor Greene, to have him to release the Epstein files. He told her to go to hell. It's the same old shit. It's the same shit. Now, if he's not gone, I'm warning y'all. I could care less if I had one, if I had many listening to me. I'm telling you right now, if Trump is not gone by January, you have 2.5 more years of him. 2.5 more years. And someone would bet, I don't listen. We can make fun, we can make jokes of Donald Trump all day long. But anyone saying anything death-wise, he should die, he should croak. I don't want to hear all that. I mean, we can make fun of his ugly ass face for an eternity. We can say Donald Trump has a big ass diaper. We can roast him, but I don't want to hear no. I don't want to wish death on no one. That's not my thing. That's not my style. Not even my worst enemy. Unless it happens to my family, then cool. All hail to this motherfucker. My point. My point being is we want to keep it political. We want to keep it opinionated as we possibly can, unless you have true facts. Other than that, I need a hug. Can anybody give me a hug? Hug, please. Hug. I worked hard on this. I worked hard.
BC 789, fought a battle against the Romans and beat the Romans, but he lost 20% of his army, most of his commanders. And Plutarch, the Greco-Roman historian, recorded him saying, if I win many more battles like this, all is lost. It all was lost. It was a Pyrrhic victory. Won the battle, lost the war. And so that term has come down through the ages, Pyrrhic victory. You can win the battle but lose the war. And so this term is being used, that Russia is achieving a Pyrrhic victory. That's how you acknowledge that Russia's winning, but Russia's losing. The problem is the historical analogy fails across the board, because it's not Russia that a Pyrrhic victory means that you lose more men than you can replace them, that the other side has more resources. Last time I checked, it was Ukraine that's losing more men that can replace. Russia has more resources. It's Ukraine's defense industry that is being devastated, Russia's defense industry working. It fails across, Russia's winning across the board. So the term Pyrrhic victory doesn't apply, except it's being said enough that people say, oh, it must be a Pyrrhic victory. And then it echoes back into Russia. And next thing you know, you have people questioning. Well, what Putin did yesterday is he spoke to the Duma, the very place that's having the election September 20th. And he was at an award ceremony. He put medals on some people. And one of the people he put a medal on leaned into him and said, Mr. President, be bolder, be bolder. And so the president got up and spoke to the Duma. He said, I put a medal on this guy and he asked me to be bolder. Do you want me to be bolder? And the Duma shouted out spontaneously, yes, yes. All right, you see what he just did there? He now has permission of the Duma to do whatever the hell he wants to do to be bolder. And he said, we will behave responsibly. I don't want to sacrifice lives. But now he has, and he's put it on the table there. It's now part of this. Putin's not going to, United Russia isn't going to lose this election in September 20th. They're going to sweep. Russia's going to rally behind because they have around a 78% approval rating. And people say this is the plummeting because it went from 84. Went from 84 to 78. And people say Putin's losing his grip. Name me a Western politician that has 78% approval rating. Not a single one. Look at our boy Donnie Trump. He's down to 36 in some cases. Macron was 11. Merz is 14. Starmer doesn't have any approval because he's being replaced already. And Putin is supposed to be a political risk because he has 78% approval rating. This is the insanity of what's going on, Sabby. It's all information warfare. People don't want to acknowledge the basic facts that across the board, Russia is winning, and that there's nothing the West can do to prevent the Russian victory except try to get Russia to collapse from within, which is their ultimate objective, to create discord, to sow the seeds of discord, to get the society to question its leadership, and to have a Moscow Maidan moment, which, again, is a plan that was actively acted on. You go back to Prigozhin's mutiny of June 2023. It appears that mutiny was part of a larger Western intelligence effort to create a Moscow Maidan, to get Wagner in Moscow, to have businesses rally around him, to have people come to the streets as they did in Rostov-on-Don and collapse the Putin regime from within. It failed. But nobody can say, oh, Scott, you're just making stuff up. No. This is an active, ongoing conspiracy by Western intelligence to bring down the government of Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin is on to them. He's called them out. He's acknowledged it. And the Russian people hear.
Yeah, I saw your email and I replied back. I didn't get no response. I'm going to read something to you real quick. This is why Iran Iraqians won't join U.S. Middle East war after striking Iran ships. Ooh, they did strike Iran's ship, and they did apologize. But I'll read a little bit. Uh, Iraqi's ambassadors in the United States inserted that leaders in Kowan uh, are not playing a game of chess when their recent drone strikes on the Iraqi ships and have no, or in other words, they hit Iran's ship or whatever. Interest in lenient in their conflicts with Russia into a wilder global war in the Middle East. My president cares only about stopping the war in my country. Ambassador Omar something something said during a brief interview with the U.S. Today after an event in Washington on July 30th, which was, I would say, a couple of days ago. People are dying. This is what we care about, she said. Her voice filling with emotion. We're not connected. We're not connecting any wars. We're not building any policies behind that. And we are just trying to survive, go through the winter, and make the war stop. And I will have you read the rest. It is on USA. That you can go on USA Today. If you have MSN, you can go to USA Today and you can read on the rest of that. But uh, I put this is the reason why I put a big ass question mark on if we are going to be in a global war or not, because it just seems like to me that everything is happening all at once, and all of it again is connected to Israel. Now, once again, if you are that type of person, we all know who Israel portrays themselves to be, so we don't have to go into that. The true Jews. If you are not a proponent, if you are not appreciative, if sometimes and when we say stuff we have to be careful, especially on these specific apps that so-called true, American, or so-called true Israel. I don't even know how to say it, but I'm trying to be careful with my words to say what the true Jews. The I would say the Khazars. I'll just put it that way. The Khazars, how they built everything, how they put everything in place, and blah 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 blah. You know how where your movies come. You know where your movies come from. What type of movies you can come out with, and all this other different types of shit, right? If you gave all your powers, and that was what I had feared the most when they supposedly, allegedly, and this order was changed at least 2 or 3 times. The order, and the NDAA National Defense Authorization Act was changed about a mere 4 or 5 times. And in that, they tried to put in, and of course, Trump tried to put in the Save America Act in it, like I told y'all before. If they were to pass that, and if you were to give all your executive powers to Israel, Israel could affect the way we vote. Not just the way we vote, the way we live, the way we operate, how the way U.S. operates. That it wouldn't be U.S. no more. It wouldn't even be the U.S. It would just be something else. Your American flag that you preach every single day, and this is guaranteed. You can look this shit up. The American flag that you so-called preach every day, you don't even know the words to the American flag, which is, I care less about that shit. But you wouldn't even have the American flag anymore. You can just burn that shit up. Because Israel would have basically had everything that they had longed for, that they had planned for many, many years now. Do not, if you want to, if these people I'm talking about the United States of America, want to stay in power, you would not have passed that bill. Thank God it didn't. Somebody had smart brains and said, we're not going to pass this bill, along with the SAVE Act, which the SAVE Act would affect Black people and females, white, Black, Asian, Mexican, Indian, Hispanic, doesn't matter. It would affect all women of all lives. Wrong one. I'll just use this.
And are responding to him. So there we are.
And the goal of the West is, of course, to overthrow Vladimir Putin and to implement a Western puppet, someone who is going to do the bidding of the U.S. and I would assume also Israel. And that brings in this question: where does Israel, in your opinion, fit into all of this? Right now, Donald Trump at the White House is meeting with Netanyahu and Zelensky. There have been multiple videos and pictures of Zelensky, of course, acknowledging he supports Israel. He also said that he sent Ukrainian troops to Israel as well.
And here's the thing. This is the reason why I stay away from Bible war talk. For God does not want us to be at war. He wants us to be at peace. But this is how shits get started. It all starts with the biblical sense. Who wrote the Bible? Who was in charge? That type of thing. I don't like getting in those type of talks unless I have a professional right beside me to tell you. And I only know one professional. I only know of one. If you have a gripe with people saying that Israel is not the true God, or is not the true Bible everywhere, because you have that, you have Hebrew, you have all types of shit. I stay away from that. I only focus on one thing and one thing only. Those things that if Donald Trump were to be that stupid to press the button, everybody's finger would be on that trigger button. And you know what trigger button I'm talking about. And I can't even say the actual word because I might get struck. So do whatever it is that you will. Argue with the people in the chat, but I can't give you that type of fight. I can't. Like I said, if I had an expert and I only know of one, I would be glad to give him to you. And he can talk about biblical wars all day long. I am not that guy. I'm sorry. I am not that guy. If you think Israel is the true God, have at it. All right?
To help them during this, Iran war that was earlier on in the war. And the way that I've just said it to people is that, like, Ukraine supports Israel. So I think it's important that people understand that they support Israel. They support Zelensky supports, by they, I mean like Zelensky, the government, he supports everything that Netanyahu is doing. And so I'm trying to really get people to understand how, to me, it seems as though the Greater Israel Project and that mission that they have is ultimately spreading to other countries as well. We see this happening in Latin America, obviously Ukraine, Zelensky here as well. And it seems like to me that part of this also includes Zionism, where when you have these other countries that may have been critical of Israel, like Russia and also like China, etc., the ultimate goal is to get those leaders out and to get someone in that position that is also going to support the Greater Israel Project. So I want to get your take on this meeting.
No, they couldn't. In a matter of passing the SAVE Act. I'm glad that they didn't. That's my point. Because, I mean, it could, think about it. It's bad enough that all these redistricting of maps had started when the Supreme Court kindly put his little slimy claws into our business. Basically pleasing the people, pleasing the governments and the mayors of the South. Most of them, not all of them. I'm just glad that most of these people came to their senses when it came to basically fighting back. Now, SAVE Act is unpopular, and like I said before, man, I'm just glad that they did not pass the SAVE Act. But Trump is going to still to this very day cry, piss and moan that we need to pass the SAVE Act because he doesn't want the left or anybody cheating or Obama cheating ever again. Like Obama is done with the presidency. He's basically done. But the one thing he cannot wrap his little claws around is for the simple fact that he doesn't control that shit. They do. Trump doesn't control a goddamn thing. They do. So he can blame Obama for all he wants. But the simple fact of the matter is, if they want him done, if they want him out of there, because he is literally stepping on people's toes. And this guy will tell you, just listen.
That's happening with Donald Trump and Netanyahu, also Zelensky. Again, same time.
Well, I mean, the reason why it's the same time is Lindsey Graham is dead, and there's a funeral arrangement. So they both came to the United States because of Lindsey Graham's death. You can't have Zelensky arrive in the United States and not meet Donald Trump. That would create all sorts of political issues. Why is Trump ignoring him, et cetera? Especially after, Trump met with him in Ankara, Turkey, and they mended their relationship and everything's good. So they have to prove it. Look, Zelensky was greeted by nobody when he landed. Nobody. He's the head of state, and he was greeted by nobody. His corrupt ambassador, who's on her way out for corruption, met him, and the pilot had to come down and salute him as well. A two-man reception committee. No Americans were there. We don't, so that's it. He came to, there's no major agreement coming out of the White House meeting. It was a photo op just for political purposes, and then Zelensky's gone. Netanyahu, he's not going to win re-election unless there's a miracle. He's out. He's finished as a politician. It's the end of the Netanyahu era. And so this meeting isn't going to, what can he do? Get the United States to do what? Bomb Iran? We just did that and we lost, Sabby. We lost this war. We lost. It's over. We may bomb again, but it's not going to change the outcome. Iran has achieved a strategic defeat of the United States. And frankly speaking, Europe as well. Their control of the Strait of Hormuz, their control of Bab el-Mandeb, their ability to inflict damage without any ability to interdict means they hold the entire oil production capacity of the Middle East hostage. And if Trump were to attempt to continue escalation, they would destroy 25% of the world's energy production capacity, throwing the world into absolute chaos and anarchy and death and destruction. That's why Trump had to stop bombing, because we can't win. It's over. So what is Netanyahu going to say to him? Bomb Iran? No. Here's what's happening. The greater Israeli project is failing. It's failing in Israel. It's failing in in Lebanon, where Hezbollah is inflicting horrific harm on Israeli forces. It's failing in Syria. It's failing in Yemen. It's failing in Iran. You know where it's not failing? The United States. You see, Congress right now apparently has the votes to pass legislation that'll, in effect, merge the U.S. Army with the Israeli Army, U.S. intelligence with Israeli intelligence, make it indistinguishable. And when that happens, the United States of America ceases to be the United States of America. We become part of the greater Israeli project. Now, some people say we already are part of that. I don't dispute the fact that we have a large Zionist element in government, etc. But there has been a Chinese firewall between the U.S. government, the Israeli government, the U.S. military, and the Israeli military. U.S. intelligence, Israeli intelligence. They aren't the same. Can't say that anymore. And once the Israelis come in, it's like a parasite taking over the host. I've written an article about the green wasp laying eggs in the American cockroach and how the eggs take over the American cockroach. Israel is the green wasp. We're the American cockroach. They've laid their eggs and we're being taken over by Israel. And they're going to change everything. They're going to change the laws. You take a look at the Biden administration and look what they did, how they used the rule of law to go after anybody who articulated a policy difference between them and Russia. Look at me, for instance. Seizure of passports, FBI.
I told you.
Agents in my home accused of being a Russian agent, a debanking, a grand jury facing 20 years in prison. This is what they were doing to me simply because I spoke out. I want to just remind your audience that there's a reason why I'm here today, because they found nothing. If I were a Russian agent, I wouldn't be here today. So all you people out there who say the Skyradar's taking RT money and doing all this, FBI took everything, and they found no evidence of that, because there can be no evidence of that. There can be no evidence of any wrongdoing. So here I am. But that's just because when Trump became president, he had been painted with the same brush. And so in order to throw the...
If they can do that to him, what makes you think what they're playing patty cake with Trump? Trump's a puppet. Trump's a puppet, just like Bush, just like Obama. Yes, I'm sorry to say for y'all Obama's fans, Obama's a puppet kid. Or was. Sleepy Joe, a puppet. All of them took AIPAC money. All of them did. What do you think? But the only difference is Trump took the largest amount of AIPAC money that there was, that they gave him. Freeman. Have you ever seen the movie They Live? Have you ever seen that movie They Live? Go see the movie. It's an old movie. It's an oldie but goodie. It's an oldie but goodie with Roddy Piper. How many? Real quick. How many seen that movie They Live? It's mainly about a person trying to get by, played by Roddy Piper. It had Keith David in it. Keith David, the voice of Spawn. So anyway, they're just people just trying to get by, just trying to go to homeless, going to homeless shelters, getting the minimum amount of work, getting the minimum amount of money. And all of a sudden, strange things just happen out the blue, right? And suddenly he finds these glasses. Roddy Piper finds these glasses and he puts them on. And what we see today is like this bottle can say it says water, but it says obey, right? And then he looks everywhere, and everything is black and white. Everything is obey. Um, um, what it's different type of words, but what I mean is it's a New World Order type of situation, and everybody looks like a bunch of aliens and stuff. And so he's trying to warn people, but people don't believe him because they live in this particular world. And so him and his friend, after they got, beat the shit out of each other, he finally put the black guy, Keith David finally was forced to put on the glasses, and he sees the exact same thing Roddy Piper's character sees, and they all go, oh shit. And so this is what mainly this is. Only they tell you this because they don't care anymore. The elitists do not care anymore. As long as it's not affecting their money, as long as it's not affecting their money, as long as it's not affecting their bottom line, they do not care. They will tell you what they are going to do. If they want to start a nuclear war today, how many of y'all know about the how many of you know about the death clock, or excuse me, the doomsday clock? Look that shit up. Look up the doomsday clock. These people are literally causing acts of war, nonsensical acts of war. And I'm sorry to say that women who are in positions of power right now are actually telling you, we don't want this type of shit. We don't want to be in the positions of war. But mainly the people who have the money, who are, in positions of power, not necessarily Trump because he steals everything, but he wants to be more like the Bilderbergs, the Rothschilds, the elitists, the top dog elitists. He wants to be in that position. But due to the fact that he can't keep his freaking mouth shut, and he's going to get him and his family marked. Mark my words.
Department of Justice off of his case, they said no more Russian investigations. But what happens when Israel takes control of the United States judiciary, as they will? People who speak out against Israel will be targeted, will be called information terrorists. That's already something that's happening. I was called an information terrorist. I've been marked for death by the Ukrainian government. I have hits out on me paid for by the United States State Department.
Oh, and by the way, your Constitution, you might as well throw that down the toilet. Because if Israel were to take over, your First Amendment, gone. Your First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, 13th, 14th, 15th, 19th Amendment, gone. Don't even think about the 22nd Amendment or the 25th Amendment. Democrats will be dead in the water. Republicans will be a whole bunch of fucking robots. Mark my words. Guaranteed.
I'm on a list, a terrorist watch list published by the Ukrainians, marking me for death. That was organized and funded by Chuck Schumer in the United States Senate. That's what happens when a government takes control. My passport was seized because the Ukrainian government asked the United States to seize my passport. The FBI came to my home because the Ukrainian government asked the Department of Justice to shut me down. And that's what they did. What happens when Israel starts making those requests? But it won't be a request because Israel will be in charge. You see, it isn't about an outside power requesting the United States government to do something. What happens when we get a blending of America and Israel to the point where it's indistinguishable, where Congress starts passing laws, but the Constitution is irrelevant, so people forget that the First Amendment prohibits Congress from passing any laws that infringe on the rights of free speech, and they begin defining free speech that's anti-Israel as terrorist activity. And they come after you there. debanking can happen this quick, that quick. All they have to do.
I just want to add, Marco Rubio already started some of this. I'm not sure if you heard, but they already announced the counter-terrorism strategy and task force, and they already moved over 43 people and organizations that they're coming after, in particular people like Medea Benjamin, some of them that went down to Cuba, et cetera. But also, all these people tend to be, critical of Israel as well. So yes, these are things that they can do.
Oh, they are doing it. And you are on a list, I'm on a list, we're all on a list. And at some point in time, they're going to weaponize that list. Sabby, all they have to do is to shut you down financially. All the FBI has to do is make 3 discrete phone calls requesting clarification on a transaction. On the 3rd one, your bank.
No, that's too late. Because Trump believe he wakes up every single day and smiling and while talking shit about Venezuela, because he has Venezuela underneath his thumb. But he cannot seem to shut his mouth when it comes to people with bigger guns. It's like, oh, the United States has bigger guns than it. Defensive wise, we can crush anyone who comes our way. But since we ran out of not weapons, but we ran out of bullets, basically. We ran out of bullets. What we're gonna do? We ran out of rockets, we ran out of bullets. What we're gonna defend ourselves with? You heard the man. What we're gonna defend ourselves with? Pull out a little knife. Yeah, I'm gonna take my knife. I'm gonna take my knife and I'm gonna start stabbing mother. All they gotta do is go pew pew. That's it. That's it. Get down to the front. Get down to the front. I'm gonna stab you with my knife. It's kind of ironic, though. A long time ago, back in World War One, not World War. Yeah, in World War One, we weren't allowed to have guns. Why not y'all defend them? Why aren't y'all fighting the war with just a knife? Come on. What do you got to lose?
Automatically shuts your bank account down and you have no recourse. They automatically seize your money, shut your account down, and you may get your money later because no criminal activity. They haven't charged you with anything. It's just the way the banks work. 3 inquiries from the U.S. government shuts down your bank account automatically. They use this in the aftermath of the January 20th thing where they shut down people. The Biden administration shut down people's accounts. They use it against me. They shut down my Citizen bank account. I did nothing wrong, nothing illegal. 3 phone calls, close it. This is a tool they'll be used. You're going to lose your money. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your passport. You're going to lose everything. And then if you continue to not do what they want, which is to shut up, they will come into your house. They will raid your house. They will open up a grand jury investigation and scrub you overdone. And if you have done anything wrong, you're going to jail.
We saw some of this happen too. Yeah, I just want to tell people we saw some of this happen too under the Biden administration with Chairman Amali Yeshitela, how the DOJ weaponized them and came after them and raided, their Uhuru centers in Florida. We were trying to warn people back then, but I think a lot of people decided to fall asleep because, Trump wasn't in office anymore. And the one thing that woke people up, what?
Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. For those who are new, who are coming in, do appreciate you. If you like the video and you like what you hear, you like what you see, well, I know you don't like what you see, but I am trying to get some things done and get some new equipment. Got to take care of the babies first. Got to take care of my oldest, which she just had a birthday. So she just had a birthday. Now I'm just saving up for my second, which would happen to be my son. So I do appreciate the conversation, the back and forth conversation. So let's keep this thing going. Do like and share and subscribe to the channel, and hopefully you leave here with a little bit of something. And if you don't believe what I say, please do your own research.
Was the genocide, but they're going to try to do a lot of this. And also for people who may think, oh well, the Democratic Party will overturn it. I don't think that they will. I think that once this is in place, I do not see, especially looking at Democratic leadership, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, I do not see them overturning this.
But Sabby,
They can't.
You're missing the point. The Democrats wrote the book. It was Joe Biden that came after me. Donald Trump has that book. He's just putting in different names. The Democrats wrote the book. The Democrats wrote the book. The Democrats wrote the book. The Democrats went after the Uhura group.
Yep.
The Democrats went after me. So this isn't Donald Trump inventing something. This is Donald Trump simply taking the game plan written and executed by the Democrats and applying it against a new set of targets. So if the Democrats come in, they have the game plan that they wrote, and they will apply it. This is the death of America.
Yep.
This is why America is dying, because neither party respects the rule of law. Neither party respects freedom of speech. Neither party respects fundamental constitutional rights. Both parties have been corrupted, and the one unifying factor in the corruption is Ukraine and Israel. Both parties have shown themselves to be willing.
And you wonder why Jasmine Crockett isn't even sniffing becoming president or any of that mumbo jumbo shit, because Congress and the Senate can't get shit together, and they don't want to get shit together because they are being controlled by Israel. Low key. Even the president being controlled, low key. They're just wanting to say, just give me the keys. Give me the fucking key. You take away his ability for the temp. What was it? What was the tariffs again? It was like 10% or something like that. But he ends up finding a loophole and increases it by 15%. But you take away his little bit, and of course he has to pay some of these people back for the tariffs, but then you give him more power. You give him more ability to fire people at will. Those who betray him, those who betray his ability to make certain decisions, which are some fucked up decisions, I might add. He literally, it's deeper than Israel. I agree. But who? I truly agree it's deeper than Israel. But then again, they believe that they're the true Jews. So the Khazars believe that they are the true Jews. So if you argue with that, then you're arguing with God, and this is the thing that they don't like. When you argue with God, that's siding with death. So certain people often would be careful of what they say or do, because that's affecting their bottom line, because these people are trying to get back something that they proclaim was theirs decades ago. It's crazy.
To subordinate basic constitutional protections to foreign governments, to basically wipe it clean, to go after people because Ukraine isn't happy, because Israel isn't happy. And now if we get this legislation passes that merges the Israeli military and the American military, merges the intelligence, it's over. Israel will be writing the legislation. Israel will control. They already bought Congress. They brag about it. $100 million to buy Congress, $30 million to remove Thomas Massey. And what are the American people doing? Not a damn thing. You said they fell asleep under Biden. They're falling asleep now. They don't understand the danger. They don't understand the danger. Once you allow, the beauty of the Constitution is, and this is why the ACLU defended the KKK's right to protest. People say, why are you defending the KKK? I'm not defending the KKK. I'm defending you. I'm defending all of America, because the right to protest, freedom of speech, is an absolute right that cannot be infringed on by the U.S. government. If you disagree with the KKK, come up with a better idea. And most people can. That's why the KKK is shrinking, becoming nothing. But don't suppress them. Don't use the rule of law to silence them, because once you establish the precedent that they're bad, we can silence them. Soon the finger will point at you, and they'll come after you. And that's where we are today. The U.S. government is completely out of control. If this legislation passes, frankly speaking, it's the end of the constitutional republic, because we're no longer the United States of America. We're Greater Israel, and people need to understand that. We're on the brink of becoming a different state, Greater Israel. And that means the U.S. is dead. Take the flag down, put up a new flag, call it something different, whatever, but don't call yourself an American, because you're not an American anymore.
It may seem harsh to some, but the thing is, like, you're right. This is what we've been trying to warn people about. Like, this is not something to just shrug off or whatever. And I've seen it happen on both sides. I've seen the censorship and the attacks happen when Democrats were in power. I've seen it happen when Republicans were in power. Both parties support this type of activity. And Scott is right. This will be the way that they get people to shut up about the criticism of Israel. To that, I say we need a massive movement in this country. That's why I tell people just voting isn't going to cut it. Like, the same way we got out in the streets, for Gaza, we need to double that and get out in the streets over this piece of legend. This is very, very dangerous. There's a reason why they wanted Thomas Massey out of there. There's a reason why they want other people out of there. That's why they're buying all these elections. Like, they want this legislation to pass, and it is very scary. And everybody should be concerned whether you had supported Israel or not. They could come after you for something else. Like, this is how it starts, right? So it's just, I think the freedom of speech issue cannot be stressed enough. The other thing I wanted to mention is somehow Iraq is now back in the picture too. Speaking of Ukraine, and then also Iran and Israel. This was released by Constitutional Nobody, but also shared on Ground News. Ukraine has denied any involvement here in Kyiv-linked militants busted in Iraq. So it says that Iraq authorities have busted several militant cells linked to Ukraine that were involved in multiple attacks within the country. This is according to the National Security Advisor. The top official made remarks on Monday during an interview with Jalila TV, stating that the country's intelligence service has concluded that Ukraine has been meddling within Iraq. What do you believe this is all about, Scott? Because I know, for those who are not aware, Scott was one of the ones that warned people that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, like early on. What do you feel is they're trying to? Why would Ukraine have these sleeper cells in Iraq?
Well, look, Ukraine has a history of using their intelligence services, the special forces components of their intelligence services, as a force multiplier against identified enemies. To give you an example, Ukraine has played a role in Syria. Ukraine has played a role in Sudan. Ukraine has played a role in Libya. Ukraine is playing an active role today in Mali. The Al-Qaeda forces that came out of Algerian territory attacking Mali recently were trained by Ukrainian intelligence operatives. They used drones that were probably flown by some Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians are doing this as a force multiplier, as a way of weakening Russia. Death by 1,000 cuts. That's their strategy. The same thing applies to Iran right now. We see, Zelensky bragging about striking a Iranian ship in the Caspian Sea. They now have Ukrainian forces using Iraqi proxies to attack, facility.
Are you for real right now? Cody, are you serious right now? Come on, man, do better. Come on.
In Iraq that are, controlled by the Shia, are related to Iran, that designed to create instability to undermine Iran's, grip on Iraq. So this is the strategy. It's they have a very active intelligence force. Now, people need to understand that from 2015 until 2022, the CIA was the biggest trainer of this. We're the ones who created these covert operation groups. So in many ways, what you're seeing here, they call it Iran, but it's CIA directed. The CIA is the one pulling the strings here. It's again, just using Ukraine as another proxy.
That makes sense. Okay, because I know one of the things that Trump said is that he was trying to get some of the Kurds in Iraq to go into Iran and create unrest, and that didn't work out. Like, remember he openly said that he was giving them weapons and telling them to go into Iran, and he was like, they wouldn't help me, so it's kind of...
A lot of people lost their lives in this stupid war that Trump started. We need to give our military brothers and sisters some slack. Come on now. They need to be more appreciated. So, most of them come here, they don't get nothing. We didn't get nothing, but we are the United States of America. Bullshit.
Kind of like all out in the open that people...
But that's what happened the next day. The next day, Iranian missiles came down and slaughtered the Kurds. The next day, Iranian drones came in and slaughtered the Kurds. There was reports that earlier this month, the Iranian paratroopers crossed the border and slaughtered the Kurds. So all Donald Trump did is put a giant target on the back of the Kurds by talking about it. And so the Iranians launched preemptive strikes. They didn't just target the Kurds, but they blew away the CIA infrastructure in Erbil as well.
Just send them my email.
Nobody's talking about CIA casualties. The CIA maintains a very large and vibrant paramilitary capability. Nobody talks about it. When they die, nobody hears their names. They become a star on the wall. And generally speaking, the name in the book has no name. It's just a star on the wall. There's good reason to believe that a significant number of CIA officers are dead and injured because of these attacks. They're the ones that are orchestrated. It's the CIA paramilitary arm, Special Operations, Special Activities Division, ground branch, that's working with the Kurds to get them to go into Iran. And the Iranians preempted it, eviscerated the Kurds, and destroyed the CIA's capacity to move. This is another reason why Trump is back down, because the supposed ground invasion isn't going to happen because Iran has taken out that capability. But it's the CIA working with the Kurds. But Donald Trump said this. It's not that the Kurds didn't do anything. They're all dead, thanks to Donald Trump's big mouth.
Yeah, there you go. He's also talking about trying to get Jelani in Syria to get involved against Iran. This is insane, Scott. Like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, wow, like, this is probably one of the most insane approaches that I have seen, because to your point, as you mentioned, we don't have the weapons. Do people really, you guys really understand? We don't have the weapons. They're gone. That's why I think during these negotiations, they were like, okay, this is an opportunity to, refuel and all that type of stuff, because we don't have that weapon, capability. And I would say, we don't have the number of weapons that we used to have before. And many are wondering, I want to get your take on this, about this turning into a world war. Do you think that now that it's also been reported that there have been missiles that have been fired, or missiles or drones that were fired from also the UK towards Iran as well? Do you think the other NATO countries will eventually give in to Donald Trump and try to go after Iran?
With what? There's a reason why NATO is called a paper tiger, and they got nothing. Let's look at Germany, for instance. In 2022, Olaf Scholz, recognizing that the Ukraine conflict was redefining war, took a look at the sorry state of the German military and asked the German parliament to provide 100 billion euros in emergency funding to get the military up where it needs to be. 100 billion euros in addition to the standing budget. This is extra money. Last year, or late last year, earlier this year, the report came out about that 100 billion euros. It ended up being like 117 billion, because the moment they borrowed the money, they had to start paying it back. It's just like, hey, how do we bankrupt Germany even further? We borrow the money, and before we even spend it, we have to take some of that money and pay it back. But now so it ended up costing like 117 billion. Nothing happened. It didn't change anything. The German military is so fundamentally broke that $100 billion euro infusion not only didn't change anything, it made it worse. This is the state of Europe's military today. They are so fundamentally broken that no amount of money will fix it. You can't fix broke. You have to start over. It's better to start anew. The British military is fundamentally broken. They have 2 aircraft carriers, one of which doesn't work. The other one won't work if they ever try to use it. That's the reality. You can take the totality of the British Army, put it in a soccer stadium, and have 30,000 unsold seats. That's how small it is. The British Army can't generate a brigade's worth of viable, sustainable combat troops. That's it. They're broke. The French, they did an exercise several years ago that tried to logistically move 12,000 troops, barely could do it today. They'd be lucky if they could move 5,000 troops. What is Europe going to bring to bear? I mean, we invoke Europe as if it's some sort of power. It's nothing. They have nothing. They are nothing.
And they're
going to go up against Iran and just
Mark.
beat the United States in a stand-up fight. I just want your audience to reflect on what I just said. Iran beat us in a stand-up fight. We brought all the resources we could bring conventionally to bear, and they beat us. Well, Scott, we didn't invade them. We can't invade them. Everybody talks about a ground invasion because there's some people, are you worried about a ground invasion? No. Why? I don't know. In 1985, I was privy to the war plan to invade Iran. I actually wrote the intelligence portion of it. I'm familiar that at that time we would go in through Chabahar, forcible entry to Marine Division.
Unfortunately, yes. Sorry to say, and it's gonna be quite hard to fix things because you're already in the pickle with. Number one, you're already in the pickle with China. You're already in the pickle with Russia. He's trying. Don't quote me on this, but again, Trump just can't seem to get his. You can read it for yourselves. Sadani Crown Prince rising concerns over Trump's plan on massive Iran strikes. I mean, you're gonna have to get him out of there. You're gonna have to get him out of there. It's bad enough that he has a temper. It's bad enough that he can't stay awake for his little cabin meetings, right? Dude, he's fake. The boy is fake. He doesn't know anything about governing. He doesn't know anything about governing. He doesn't know anything about planning. He doesn't know anything about strategy. He doesn't know anything about being a president. And he's going to get us hurt. He is going to get us hurt, y'all. And y'all sitting here playing around talking about he's the greatest president ever. Why? Because he promised you something? Well, he promised you a couple of $1,000s versus what billions that he stole. Y'all, some of you are either stupid or slow. But y'all stick with him. See what he does. I already came out with a video and asked, what has he done for you? He is taking billions and billions and billions of dollars, but yet you have not yet let the ass other than he's going to get my taxes. He gave me the biggest tax cut. Tax on tips. How you going to get tax on tips when your not the population, but your, let's just say here in Las Vegas, Nevada, every single solitary hotel that some of them need to be torn down and built back up, by the way. Let's just say, for the example, the Excalibur. The Excalibur, what was I going to say? Okay, the Excalibur needs to be torn down, right? But you're going to end up paying a certain amount of money to stay there, even though it smells like dog shit half the time. You're constantly asking for a different hotel because it just smells like dog water. but yet people don't care. The people here do. The people, the organization, the corporations do not give a fuck. They don't give a fuck how pricey the food is. They don't give a fuck how pricey. You have to pay for basically you have to go through 4 price tags before they even give you the keys. And some of those registration fees, they'll just waive off. Some of them will. But you have to pay for the price. You have to pay for the price of the hotel, plus the registration fee, plus another price, I forgot what that was, plus another small registration fee. Some of you are going to be paying $50, some of you are going to be paying $55, some of you are going to be paying $45. And most of that shit is just, with this, well, I don't know. It's just like abracadabra, hocus pocus. Hopefully you click your heels and you wish everything back to where it once was. But things are just going to be a whole hell of a lot worse under this presidency. It's like I said before, this man can't even stand up straight. This man that can't even stand up straight half the time. I heard he had a couple of scares, but nobody wants to. They didn't even do it for Sleepy Joe at that time. All of a sudden they said Sleepy Joe had a stroke, allegedly had a stroke, but he's now 80 years old. He's senile. He believes he's winning when actually he's losing. But these people will literally kiss his ass. Same thing with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance thought when he went over there to Pakistan to make a deal about the Haran negotiations, he thought he had it in the bag until they told him, "No, get the fuck out of here. We ain't giving you shit. You bombed our country. You took our general away. What the fuck do we have to do? No. Get the hell out of here before we do something to you." Remember Trump tried to sneak a couple of ships into the Hormuz, and they gave him a warning. They at least didn't hit any civilians, allegedly didn't hit any civilians. He is the most fakest president ever. You know how true, I want to tell you how true this comment is. This comment is very, very true. You know how true this comment is, why it is? Because let's just say Donald Trump came to your house, right? He came to your house, didn't even take off his shoes, didn't present himself first and foremost, just took off his shoes, went into your refrigerator, got something to drink, looked around, started just like, what? This is a god awful place. It stinks around here. This is a god awful place. Blah 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 blah. And he flops on the fucking couch, puts his shoes on your coffee table. Right? But he ends up doing something nice for you. You know what he ends up doing? Let's just say you have a 65-inch plasma screen TV, and he makes it a 80-inch plasma screen TV. He's gonna put his name on it. He's gonna put his goddamn name on it. I'm like, wait a minute. You came in my house, getting in my goddamn refrigerator, and flop your little floppy ass on my freaking couch. You owe me that. You owe me that TV. Then he goes in the back, and of course he has that other thing that people deny. Let's just say your daughter come around. If anybody got any daughters in the room, let's just say your daughter come around and you say, "Oh, that's a fine young lady right there. If she was a little bit older, I'll make her mine, man. I would definitely make her mine." Like, seriously, come on. I wouldn't say shit if George Bush were in charge. Kind of low key, I would, but not as much as what's going on right now. Come on, he's not gonna give you anything because mainly his father was a fucking failure. He's a worse born failure than his father was. And he's been proven time and time and time again. Look at the history of Trumponomics. Did y'all even bother going on that website? What was it? Barb? What was the website called again? Look, well, just look this up. Look up Trump RX. Just start there. Look up Trump RX. Just look up Trump RX, and tell me you will get one of those prescriptions for you or your family. Just tell me if you would. That's crazy. That's crazy work. Anything that has to do with money, he is going to see fit that he gets first dibs. Otherwise, he wouldn't be talking with the Saudi prince about anything. Where I put it?
Division, 60 to 80,000 Marines going in, backed up by 120 to 200,000 Army forces, and then we would project our forces inward. That was the plan. I also know that we didn't get very far before we got beat because it's very difficult to sustain this. But that's when we were strong. That's in the 80s when we had the strongest military in the world, bar none. Today, we can't do any of that. We have 2 Marine Expeditionary Units deployed in the region. That's 2 battalion landing teams. That's nothing. Nothing. We got an airborne brigade on standby, 5,000 paratroopers. They jump from an airplane, they land on the ground. That's all they have is what they brought down with them, which runs out instantly. Then they all die. We have nothing. We have no forces we can send in. None. It takes 6 months to get a U.S. Army heavy brigade out of Fort Carson, Colorado, to Germany to participate in a rotational, presence of force in Poland and in Europe. 6 months to prepare. And we want to invade Iran with what? We have no forces available. We know this because in 2020, the Iranians shot down a Global Hawk drone over the Strait of Hormuz. You might recall that. And Donald Trump said, "I'm going to bomb him in retaliation." And the Pentagon went, "Wait a minute, boss. If you bomb Iran, there might have been a chance that our drone was actually over Iranian territory and they shot it down in legitimate self-defense. If you bomb them, they're going to escalate. They're going to hit us. Then we're going to escalate. Next thing you know, you're going to seize the Strait of Hormuz, and we can't take it back." Listen to what I'm saying, Sabby. They told President Trump in 2020, we cannot take Strait of Hormuz back from Iran if they seize it. Yet the president today is saying, "Well, we never knew that could happen. We never expected Iran to seize the Strait of Hormuz." And he lied. He's a liar. Everything he says is a lie. We knew it then. We couldn't do it because they briefed him. It would take 800,000 to 1.2 million American soldiers to go in and create the conditions to retake the Strait of Hormuz, because you have to project power inside Iran. And we don't have that. It would take years to build up that capacity.
And that's one of the reasons why he wanted to cook up the draft. At one point, I thought he was joking. He was like, "We're going to send 17-year-olds in it." I was like, "You can't send no damn 17-year-old there to die." He was like, "He wanted 18 and over, or they're going to be suffering the consequences." So you want to draft other people to go in there and do your dirty work. But correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you and your father refuse to go into the military? That's right. You and Fred refused to go into the military. Oh, he had an excuse for you.
That's where we are today. There will be no invasion of Iran because there can be no invasion of Iran because we don't have the capacity to invade Iran. It's an absolute joke. We can launch a raid here, special operations. The Marine Battalion can go in and blow up something and come back. The idea of invading and occupying Iran is an absolute joke. The last time we did something like this was, we did it in 1991, Operation Desert Storm, where we infused a significant number of troops and recaptured Kuwait, invading Western Iraq, Southern Iraq in the process. We did it again. That was 700,000 troops. We invaded Iraq in 2003 with 200,000 troops. But that was an already fundamentally defeated Iraqi military. We don't have that military today. It doesn't exist. We can't do any of the things that people are talking about. So we are defeated. We have no more options. This war will not expand because it cannot expand. If it does expand, then we get into nightmare scenarios where the world deals with the consequences of losing 25% of its energy production capacity. It's not just energy production. Qatar, which has suffered some serious harm, they produce liquid natural gas. The processes involved in creating natural gas create ammonia. Ammonia is a key component of fertilizer. Fertilizer feeds the world. Do you understand that right now there is no ammonia being produced in Qatar? That means that 25% of the world's fertilizer capacity doesn't exist. That means there's 25% of the global food production that's not getting the fertilizer they need to grow the food that the world needs not to starve to death. That's a
But you want to give us HMOs. The type of food when you grow it, it doesn't grow again. And then you want to give us another type of food. I forgot what the name of that was, which has let's just say HIV in it. And while I'm at the subject, has anybody heard about this lettuce and fruit phenomena? Has anybody heard of this? How the lettuce gets you diarrhea? Has anybody heard of this shit? Now, I had Chipotle. I didn't get sick, but I had to use the bathroom. A little gross, but hey, it is what it was. It's a bit. They recalled everything. They even recalled coffee. I'm trying to tell you, this is a connection. Follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money. Follow it. The people who paid for the tube calls the filler, calls the tube. I said it all wrong. I'm sorry. But yeah, my kids got allegedly sick. I'm like, it's just diarrhea. But then again, it could have been something else. It could have been something worse. And then the next thing you know, they were calling meat. They were calling fruit. Fruit. How do you recall fruit? Fruit is supposed to be the most wholesome, the most I can't even think of the word. Whatever it is. You gross. You are gross. Man, if you don't give me a heart, kick your ass. Like you, White Castle. You are full of shit.
Consequences. Your cell phones and all your electronics, to make those chips and everything, you need helium. 30% of the world's helium comes from Qatar. They're not shipping helium right now because they're not producing liquid natural gas. So we're
Before I forget, if you get any symptoms, just take Pepto-Bismol, take some Tums, drink as much water as you possibly can. Did I tell you that Bill Gates was fucking with the water supply? Oops. Telling you, man, the connections. Not fully. And the water. I would prefer people who have filters. Filterize your water. Either that or there's a specific type of water you're not supposed to be drinking. See your doctor if you suspect you have this. Yes.
We're going to run out of chips because there is no alternative supply source for helium. This is the reality. Global production will shut down. Look at your desk. Look at around your room. Everything there is made out of petroleum, one way or another. And without it, this world shuts down. This is the consequence of the war that Donald Trump started with Iran. And if it escalates, the Iranians will shut the door on the world.
Yep.
The Iranians have far more power today than the United States does. That's sort of what happened here, is that we, by illegally attacking Iran, created a catastrophe that has fundamentally altered the global balance of power.
Yep.
Iran today possesses power beyond imagination because, unlike the United States, the only way we can achieve similar destruction in the world is through nuclear weapons. Everybody said Iran needs a nuclear weapon. They don't need a nuclear weapon. They have a nuclear weapon. It's called the Strait of Hormuz, and it's called Bab el-Mandeb. And when they shut that down, the world shuts down with greater destructive force than any single or nuclear weapon will have. So this is where we're at today. I fear that consequence. I fear what happens when Trump, because he's so weak-minded that he can't accept the fact that he lost. So he will attempt to escalate a conflict that can't be escalated because we have no ammunition. He will seek to bomb targets in an effort to put pressure on Iran, but all the result is the Iranians destroying similar targets. Kuwait almost was eliminated as a modern nation state. Iran started striking desalination plants, power plants, the electrical generation plants, and the Kuwaitis said they're hitting critical infrastructure. Then they said they're really hitting critical infrastructure, and they're down to like their last desalination plant, their last power plant. If Iran hit that, Kuwait shuts out. It's over. They don't have electricity. They don't have water. They die. That's how close Kuwait came to disappearing as a nation state. Iran can do that to every single Gulf Arab state. So
yeah, this is why we were warning people about the global.
Well, you get the whole just and the crooks and the crammies of it. Now to this other shit. I appreciate y'all for sticking in there. This sucks. This really sucks. All because of Trump's inability to keep his hands off of shit and keep his mouth shut, because he believes in his mind and in his heart, this 80-year-old brain, that this is a victory for him. But here's this thing with Israel again.
The numbers are about 50,000 people had swarmed in. 50,000 people in the course of a day swarmed in, creating a humanitarian crisis, creating an absolute crisis. Ceuta, by the way, is a city in Spain or an area in Spain that only has about 80,000 people. So 50,000 people suddenly showing up is a massive, massive crisis. And of course, part of this crisis is the fact that there's the Schengen zone throughout Europe. And that means once you get into Europe, you can pretty much go anywhere. There's no real border checks. It's pretty open everywhere. And so this created a lot of panic throughout Europe. The Italians closed their borders to Spain. You cannot fly directly anymore from Spain to Italy without, they're not doing like open flights and open borders between the two countries. Italy has completely closed its borders to Spain at this point. So you'd have to show a lot of documentation and whatnot. They've also, the Italians have worked with the French on ensuring that their northern borders are secured as well. But let me just show you exactly where Ceuta is, though, because a lot of people think Ceuta is on mainland Europe, and it is not. It's actually in Africa. It is one of the regions in northern Africa that Spain still has control over. Spain has had control over Ceuta for hundreds of years. I believe it's been in their possession since, I don't know, 1550 something. It's been in their possession for a really, really long time. Ceuta was at one point colonized by or in the control of the Romans. It's been under the Byzantine control. It's been under the Arab empires that have come through. It's just kind of been in everybody's hands. And the population of Ceuta is about half Christian, half Muslim. They all speak Spanish and Arabic. They live harmoniously together. There's not a lot of people there. So 50,000 people swarming in was a pretty big deal. Here's what's interesting. About 48,000 have already left. So 50,000 swarm in. We see images of them being bussed in, trucked in, essentially. I don't know if we have some of the footage of that, but let me see if I can kind of fast forward through some of this footage so we can see what was going on here. Look at this. They were actually being, look at this. There's a government official here. I mean, somebody in a uniform. And these migrants are piling out. So this obviously caused alarm as to who is organizing this. Why would there be an official in uniform allowing all of these people, basically busing them to the border and then having them get out and run across? So a lot of questions here. How did 50,000 in the short period of time come barreling through like this? Why were many of them trucked over? You don't truck people over unless this is a coordinated effort. So who was behind this? Why were they doing this? So lots of questions start popping up. And lately, all roads lead to Israel. So it looks like Israel and the Moroccans, the Israelis and the Moroccans worked together in order to flood these regions with migrants, in order to really upset Spain, potentially try to take territory from Spain, prove a point against Spain. If you remember, Spain has been very much a critic of Israel. They have been speaking out a lot against Israel. They've cut off a lot of diplomatic ties with Israel. And
listen to this dictatorship ass motherfucker. Just listening to him.
Heroes, the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces, the soldiers of the most moral army in the world, and therefore I have ordered today to expel Spain's representatives from the coordination center in Kiryat Gat after Spain chose again and again to stand against Israel. Whoever attacks the state of Israel instead of the terror regimes, whoever does this will not be our partner regarding the future of the region. I am not willing to tolerate this hypocrisy and this hostility. I do not intend to allow any country to wage a political war against us without paying an immediate price for it.
Okay, without paying an immediate price for it. So people are pointing this out and saying, it looks like the Israelis might have been behind this insane migrant crisis that obviously looks manufactured. If this were truly a humanitarian crisis that was organic, these people would have been fleeing a war zone. There would have been something that created this crisis that was more natural, like a natural disaster or a terrible war, something along those lines. But what we're seeing is specifically military-aged young men. So this was not families. You don't see women and children running across the border into Spain. We're seeing military-aged young men. We're seeing them trucked in by what looks like officials. And we see a massive number, bigger than we've ever seen in a single day, going into Spain. And this is all happening.
To be perfectly honest with you, take it easy. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know. This would be the first time that I would have to say that I'm stuck. I don't know what the is going on. I seriously don't. I'm telling you the honest to God truth. I do not know what the hell's going on. You talking about borders, not letting anybody in across the borders and all this other stuff. What is Israel doing? Do I believe Israel is the cause of this? Welcome to the live. Well, like, share, subscribe, support the channel. If you can, if you can't support it with money, support it with love, and that is with a like or a heart. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But it seems like to me that is there a global war? To me, absolutely. Otherwise, you wouldn't be complaining about a shortage of food. You wouldn't be complaining about some chemicals, other chemicals like being sprayed into the food, like the stuff that you would spray on grass. I forgot what it was. The stuff that you spray on grass, I literally put on the fucking food, which does something to you. Does something to your chest. It just works your heart a little bit more than it's actually is destructive. But we wouldn't be talking about that. We wouldn't be talking about anthrax. Y'all remember anthrax. We wouldn't be talking about ammonia. We wouldn't be talking about COVID. We wouldn't be talking about not ammonia. What the fuck? Ebola, which is coming into the Roundup. Thank you. You wouldn't be talking about Roundup. Roundup was just spraying in the fucking food. We wouldn't be talking about any of this. But the fact that Ted Turner was involved in this, and other elitists said, and including Bill Gates's dumbass, said that there are too many people on planet Earth. Do you think that they care if there was a global war going on? If there were a global war going on? Absolutely not. Because they feel that their world is dying. I will tell you this: if the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, did not pass, or if it did pass, we would be in a world of hurt. Well, America would be in a world of hurt because America wouldn't even be in America anymore. And I believe, and this might be in my heart, I might be wrong on this, but I believe in my heart of hearts that the reason why Trump did what he did to Canada is because Canada is a bunch of freedom fighters. They're patriotic. That's what he believes. He would believe that they're patriotic. And that's why he put the tariffs on them. But a lot of it, I would have to tell you, a lot of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump. Now look what's happening to him. Now what's happening to him. And the reason why they're getting rid of so many other people, one of them would happen to be, sorry to say, like her, love her, hate her, Jasmine Crockett, is because she is not one of those. But Hakeem Jeffries is. Hakeem Jeffries, Brian Donalds, all of them are a bunch of trick bags. All of them. In my humble opinion, what? Speak your mind. Speak your mind. This is some other type of stuff. Spain is, I would want to say, along with Turkey, they're patriotic. They don't want wars. It not, you know what? And now I know, right? Okay, we're back live. Now I know why y'all are so up in arms with people who take AIPAC money. Now I know why. I didn't do my full research. I didn't have time to do all of it, but I know that I know a little bit of history. I know a little bit of history of Israel and how very sensitive they are when it comes to God. That's one of the things that I know. If anybody has anybody knows any history about Israel, please put it in the chat. Anyone who and they believe this is their time now. Anyone who goes against Israel, that's including Spain, is going to get what they would call a death sentence because they feel that you are going against God. But this here, I don't know why the fuck they let all these people go. I really don't know.
Happening when Spain is speaking out against Israel, Spain is holding its ground against Israel, and Israel's saying, well, we're coming after you, basically. You guys are hypocrites, and we're angry with you. And so who else would manufacture this crisis? Now, Morocco is also in bed with Israel. Morocco is pro-Israel. They've been
North Africa.
Working with the Israelis. Why, you might ask? We're going to get into that. But first, let me just show you more evidence that this points to the Israelis doing. And with the Moroccans, I would imagine the Moroccans are in on it as well, but certainly this is something that the Israelis were looking at. But first, let me just go back and show you this map, just so that we're very clear on what areas we're talking about. This is Ceuta. Ceuta is on the other side of Gibraltar, which is you guys don't like Spain, but what do you mean, see, this is what you get? And this obviously looks manufactured, so maybe you did it. And here's some more evidence that maybe they did do it. Here's Yair Netanyahu. He said this this was in 2019. And he says, dear Spanish people, I see you all got upset. Ceuta and Melilla are tiny territories you own across the sea on another continent. Now imagine how we feel when your government calls for Israel to give away Judea and Samaria, West Bank, which is the Jewish heartland and its place of birth for more than 3,000 years ago. It is in the Bible. Check it out. Judea and
it could be an Epstein distraction, but then again, this mainly has nothing to do with Trump and them, because they've been picking on each other for years and years and years. You know what I mean? But with Trump trying to fight a war because his inability to even be successful in life, that's a whole different animal right there. Whole different beast.
Samaria are 15 kilometers away from Tel Aviv, our economical hub, and cut through our capital, Jerusalem. It's also half of Israel's territory. Even with it, we're about the size of Palma de Mallorca. Let's make a deal. We won't fund NGOs in your country calling you to give away Ceuta and Melilla, and you will stop funding NGOs in our country that call us to give away Judea and Samaria. So they're admitting, the Israelis are admitting to funding NGOs calling to give away Ceuta and Melilla back to Morocco, which it never was Moroccan territory. It's always been under the control of somebody else. I mean, Morocco became a country in 1950s. Ceuta has been around since the Roman Empire.
You're talking about that. If you're talking about something if you're talking about the part where Daniel has a vision of a big ass statue that's labeled in gold, silver, bronze, and whatever else, and it gets knocked down by a big giant rock, I would prefer you to the four beasts of the sea, which represents the four countries who one of them is one of the bigger countries is Rome, because of course the big giant, for those who read the Bible, read Daniel. You know, the big giant monster that comes out of the sea with the 10 horns, and the last horn that comes out is the dude that runs the government. He has a face on it. That's Rome. That's Rome. You're talking about Turkey, Rome. Wait, what was the lion? Lion with wings. I forgot what country he was. I do know that the bear was Turkey. The leopard with the 4 heads and the wings of a fowl, I forgot what that one was. But I do know that the other monster was Rome. Rome, if you look at the 10 crowns all around, the 10 crowns around his head represent the 10 whatever that fucking thing is. But if you actually look close enough, it looks like the shape of it actually looks like the shape of a woman. If you absolutely look at it. If you actually look at the shape of how it's, you know, how Rome, how the castle is absolutely shaped. If you look at the inside part of it, it's the shape of a woman, seriously. I don't know what the fuck it's telling you. I really don't. But it's like the last of the Roman, and I don't know if it's the last of the Roman Empire, but is it going to be a global war? I don't know. Could it be a holy war? Absolutely. Absolutely. When you have Netanyahu yapping his mouth, is like, somebody, if you're talking shit about Israel, we're gonna beat you up. It's like, then you're gonna have a problem with the whole entire world, because they believe that they have, they're the source of power that was given to God. They have the source of power that's given to God. Then you're gonna have China involved, because they have the Buddha. They have Buddha. We have Jesus. We have Jesus Christ. They got Buddha. You got Hebrew. You're fighting with the Hebrew Israelites. You're fighting all these things, and I'm telling you, God produces every single religion that there is. I mean, we're all supposed to be human by the end of the day, but the fact of the matter is that you have one person that believes he is it. That believes, what's the term that y'all use today? I am him. I'm him. I'm that guy. I'm him. Doesn't make any sense. You're going to end up killing each other. You're going to end up smoking each other. Hey, Tanya, how you doing?
So, and Arabs were not naturally, they're not the indigenous people of Ceuta. There were other people during the Roman times, and then it's changed hands quite a bit. And it's been kind of a variety of different peoples that have lived in Ceuta for a long, long time. So he's saying we are funding NGOs that are calling for you to give away Ceuta and Melilla.
Wait, if you vote blue, you will be given over true communism. Do people want to live under that bondage? It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, is what you're not getting. If you're a Republican or a Democrat, this is the reason why Jasmine Crockett exposed all this. Well, some of it anyway. And this is the reason why she's not running. Because she exposed white supremacy. That's what you're not getting. She exposed all this. And when she exposed it with a fine-tooth comb, I I mean, there's some things I don't like. There's some things I don't like about the whole LBGTQ thing. I don't like all that shit. But mainly, I don't want to call her a whistleblower, but she blew a whistle. And this is the reason why they chose Tellerico over her. Because just think about it. She blows Kim Paxton out the water. Just imagine if she was if Jasmine were in the Senate seat. What did LGBTQ? You weren't paying attention. I said that I don't like the fact that she is representing them hardcorely, like, but that's her business. That's one of the lesser evils that I dislike about Jasmine. One of the lesser evils, because I don't get down with that shit. But if you do, bless you, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I would rather vote for her than I will vote for any of these freaking yahoos who are in business with Israel. Oh, did you know that, and this is a little secret, I'm going to give you a little secret. Did you know that Kamala Harris took AIPAC money?
And in exchange, don't fund NGOs that are calling for the West Bank to remain Palestinian. He's saying, we want the West Bank and you want to keep Ceuta and Melilla. He's trying to equate the two. Totally not the same at all. The West Bank is Palestinian territory. Palestinians live.
If love is love, why don't you bless me with a heart? Bless me with some love. How about some love? Bless me with some love.
There, the Jews want it. They want to take it for themselves, saying that it's theirs from 3,000 years ago, and they don't want the Arab Muslims there, and so they want to make it part of Israel. Bit different. So he says this, and this is concerning. Now, again, that was in 2019, so it wasn't like a direct threat from yesterday or anything, but still, it's being said and it's being admitted to. Danny Dannon says Spain, which never misses an opportunity to lecture Israel, has declared a state of emergency in Ceuta following the crisis over its immigration policy. Maybe before it continues lecturing us, it's time it explained to the world why it still maintains colonial enclaves in Africa. So these types of comments, and the Israelis pointing at Spain saying, see, this is what you get. Now you understand. Now you understand. When they say things like, now you understand, you're a hypocrite. Now do you get it? Points to this being an act of revenge, which, and most of the migrants came back. So 50,000 went in, 48,000 came back out. That indicates that this was like, young kids being, yeah, dude, let's go. Let's all go. Oh, yeah, we're being bussed over. We're going to go and invade Ceuta today. That we're being told to go do it. And so, we're going to do it. And it's going to be fun. Let's go, man. Jump on the truck and let's go. The New York Times actually said that they spoke to several Moroccans who said they were encouraged.
Hold on. Breaking news. Guess who's on live right now?
The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it.
Your
Tonight,
favorite guy's
asking
on.
the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security According to the DHS review, state voter
Fucking finger
rolls
hurts.
and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible.
Why can't he just give it up?
Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files
Just give it up.
in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. It took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have.
It's worse to you because
NBC and ABC fake news
you
both
lost.
said that they would not cover this.
Against Sleepy Joe.
About because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot.
Why? Because China's involved?
Continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for
Be honest with them Epstein files.
Assets.
Be honest.
Damage has been done to our country.
We know you're in them.
Elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody, and it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm and
Are you sure it wasn't Obama?
To ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerability before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away. Confirmed their authenticity. You can see.
Unless you're gonna come out with some truth, they might as well just stop looping this shit over and over and over again. They might as well just stop looping, because all they're doing is just looping this shit over and over and over and over again. And he's going to complain about the same thing over and over and over again. He did it in the I forgot what meeting that was, but anyway, I'm just here to tell you that you're screwed. Y'all are screwed unless you go and tell Hakeem. First of all, tell Hakeem Jeffries to step his ass down, because unless you can get Sleepy Joe to go up to Trump and give him a beat down or some politically, I might add, not physically, but politically, give him a beat down. Other than that, I don't see anything stopping it other than the election, other than the midterms coming up. Go to your elected officials, see who is worthy, and start stamping that shit in. Start stamping it in. In the meantime, between time, don't worry about this global. Don't worry about any type of wars. Just go on life regularly. Just go on life regularly. Just have fun this weekend. I'm still on vacation. I'm still going to be doing videos, and I'm still going to have to expose. Well, there ain't nothing to expose because he ends up just exposing himself, and I'm talking about Trump himself. But it's not just Trump who's doing all this nonsense. It's his cabinet that's involved, and there are people who he's working for who put him in office in the first place who's involved. Be yourself, exactly. Be yourself. Just do whatever, man. But thank you for sticking around with me. Thank you for sticking around with me this long. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. Like, share, and subscribe, and give a hype. Give a little hype. I think it's like down in the corner somewhere. Just give a little hype, give a little heart, give a little love, and I'll see you in the next video. Deuces.